As Americans, we are told to work hard and we'll be able to accomplish anything. Today, this is not true. We are seeing the gap between the working class and the business elites grow beyond comprehension. We find examples of this with stories like I'm going to share with you all today. You can work hard and still end up living below the poverty line. Hard work doesn't guarantee us that we'll be able to support ourselves, let alone a family. The truth that our parents and grandparents grew up with, this idea of the great American dream, is more like a nightmare for more and more great Americans. If you live paycheck to paycheck, you're living dangerously close to this nightmare, and the fact is, most of us are. Alright y'all, so I got a video from ABC Action News over in Florida talking about how easy it is to become homeless nowadays. If it wasn't just the housing market and the rental, the rental market right now, it's much more than just those two things. It's the fact that, a lot of us are living paycheck to paycheck, and it just takes that one bad day to just make everything. You lose that one job, and now you can't afford to pay all those application fees that we've been talking about. So let's just check it out and see what these guys got to say.
It's a lesson we learn early on. Work hard, earn a decent living, and you'll be able to afford a home. But the lack of affordable housing is turning that age-old concept upside down.
And tonight, I-Team investigator Katie Lagrone continues her original reporting on this issue with a revealing look at homelessness among the middle class.
The pictures of a booming Florida are hard to miss. More people in, more construction up. The economy thriving.
My name is Angelia.
So in the middle class,
senior financial services
homelessness
accountant
in the middle
for
class.
Department of
So
Transportation.
you work,
Which makes this
you make
story
more than what they
I am
consider the
what you
poverty line,
almost
and yet you still
impossible
can't.
to understand.
Still can't find affordable housing. You
And
still
that's what
can't find
people wonder,
housing in
because
general.
You have to pay to live, and so therefore you can't afford to save any money to move.
Since
Right.
last year, Angelia Woods and her 4 children have called this Tampa hotel home.
I spend almost $2,000 a month to live here. Well, that's like all my income. So I don't have any money to save to be able to put down the first month, the last month, the security deposit.
After the pandemic forced a previous employer to shut down, she lost her job, was eventually evicted, and ended up hotel hopping. By the time she got her accounting job with the state, Florida's rental market exploded, making her numbers to get into a place of her own unworkable.
I tell my kids, you work, you're entitled to things. You take care of yourself, you're entitled to things. So I never thought I would ever be in a situation like this.
Right.
It shocks me sometimes.
What about assistance?
I don't qualify for assistance. You make too much money to
Make
qualify
too
for
much.
assistance, but then you don't make enough money to be able to save to get somewhere else to live. So I'm in that middle place, that gray area that I had a hard time seeing my whole life. I'm the one that's in that shady area that no one really wants to acknowledge is there. I need a moment.
It's so ridiculously easy
Every 2
to
weeks,
become
we pack
a
our
part of
stuff
that
up,
shady
go to the
gray
next
area.
church.
Across the coast in Martin County.
It sits down here because the TV's so far away.
Before they started church hopping, Owen Russell and his 17-year-old daughter Elizabeth were couch surfing. At times, he says, even sleeping in their car.
Terrible. It feels terrible. I'm a single father. I've raised my daughter since she was 1.5 years old by myself. I've always been there for her.
It's a pretty emotional thing.
Russell
I get
is a
it.
full-time
I think everybody
transportation
gets it. It's
provider for
pretty sad
non-emergency
stuff.
patients. A good job, he says.
A good
But with
job.
rental prices up 20 to 30% in the area, it's not good enough to land them into a place they can call their own.
When they're saying they're building homes for middle-class families, and I go to apply and I say, who's able to afford this?
Russell and Woods are among a growing number of middle-class working families in Florida, now becoming first-time homeless families, too.
I've called them families that are in the gap. It's families that they make too much to qualify for government subsidy, but too little to afford the market rent. So I just say these are our workforce that are in the gap.
Madeline Bazone Greenwood is executive director of Family Promises of Martin County. part of a leading national nonprofit dedicated to helping families who are experiencing homelessness or facing homelessness. Though the feds have poured hundreds of millions of pandemic relief dollars into state and local coffers to help people pay for rent or down payments,
up, man.
Zone Greenwood says without changing who gets priority and increasing income eligibility requirements, more working families will fall in the gap.
We have to help families that are making higher income. Okay, so
Or reevaluating what
even though
the poverty line is to begin with. I mean, this is just gross. Just leaving so many Americans, so many hard-working Americans out.
This is our stuff.
Owen and his daughter are now looking at moving across state lines to Georgia.
I'm a Floridian boy, and there's no place for me here.
There's a stereotype like, you're single and you got kids, you must be on welfare, you must be doing this. No, I get up every day and go to my job.
Angelia Woods plans to stay put.
I'm an accountant. I'm already working. I'm already productive.
An
July
accountant,
will
dude.
mark 1 year
She knows how to
in
handle
this
money.
Hotel, an anniversary
It's gross.
this mom would like nothing more than to miss.
I don't want anybody's sympathy. I don't want anybody to take care of me. I will take care of us.
That's right. We're proud. Americans are
I just want an
proud
opportunity
people.
to get a place that's decent, that's affordable, that my kids don't have to be afraid to come outside and play. That's all I want.
I'm my team investigator, Katie Legrone, taking action for you.
Reggie, we're here in Culver City. You're out here homeless. Tell me about it.
Well, my homeless situation started maybe a few months ago. I was staying with my mother. But to give you a little background and history, I grew up in this area right here they call West LA. Ran with the gangs, selling drugs and things of that nature. Got out in 2014, got myself a job, and moved in with my family. Everything was looking good. My mother has a problem with men. And what I mean by men, I'm a split image of my father. So this is where the bickering, the arguing come into play of me being homeless and kicked out. My mother looked at me. My mother was abused in the womb. When I was in the womb with as my father. I had to stay in the hospital a few extra days in order to be born. So that's just, that pain that my mother holds and resentment towards my father. She took it out on me while I was living here. There was nothing that I can do right by her. It was everything. I'm just this. I'm just that. And this is where the arguing come into play. Now, as a kid, you know that you're not supposed to curse your parents or curse them. But I'm not doing drugs. I work a job. I'm in construction boots now. I'm in construction glasses. I don't see the problem. She told me to get out of her house and want her space. Threw me out. That's my homelessness.
So as y'all just heard, Reggie used to be in the gangs and the drug dealing and all that stuff. Got himself cleaned up, got himself a job. And all it took was just one bad day. His mom threw him out because he looked too much like his dad, reminded her too much of his dad, and it's just that one bad day, unable to provide for himself anymore. He ends up homeless.
Now, one will say,
are you still working?
I'm working.
You're working and living in a tent here?
Working and living in a tent.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What's that like? Because you got to get up and you got to get there.
I'd rather stay at the job than come back here to the tent because the job keeps me sane. The job keeps me civilized. So to go out there to that job and sometimes to see normal people where they say, hey, I'm finna go home and watch TV, watch the news, I got to come back to a tent. And this is where the killing part comes in. So you would ask yourself, how a guy with a job living in a tent? Just the story I just showed you, how a person pain that they hold against your father or whatnot, that's where I'm at. Now, the significance to that is, well, here's a guy that just a step away from just, the curb. I got a car. Yeah.
So you have wheels, you just can't afford an apartment.
No apartment.
Oh my God.
So this is where I'm at. And this is where one can get caught up into the misery, the drugs, because of, yes.
Homelessness is hard, so.
Yeah, once you're already out there, man,
it
makes it real easy to turn to that shit.
My mother being vindictive towards my father, holding a grudge, this is where I land. This is how deep this is, because one would say, well, hey, You just drive by or walk by here and see a person and have infinite sympathy for them. But you would never know one's real story. It's really that, man, my mother just never liked it, my father, and here I am.
When people drive down and see the tents, they don't imagine.
It's not just because of that, right? I mean,
here's a working man with.
if it wasn't so ridiculous to get a place, he'd be able to afford a place.
What I try to tell them that these stories down here,
needing somebody else
judge it, man. We got people that just
to split that rent with or whatever.
Somebody don't get out my house. I need my space. This is how simple this is. Where it lands me down here. Get out my house. You look like your father beat me in the womb. You look like your dad.
Just like that. One bad day.
Exactly.
So if you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
My wish is to live rent-free in this world. Rent-free. I don't really want no money. I think
working hard.
I think, man, life now is just about shelter and just being in the house.
Basic necessity of having shelter.
Coming home.
Secure place
there you go, brother. Rent-free.
That they can't take away from you.
Rent-free. If people didn't have to worry about paying rent every month, you wouldn't see the stress and strain of the hustle and bustle out here. They got us working to be able to stay warm at night. And that's small, but what I'm getting at is if they just would say, hey, no rent, and let the government subsidize the property owners. I understand property has to be paid, but I think if they were to subsidize that, I think rent-free would be, I don't know. I just think rent-free
most of these
will help
property
a lot
owners that
I think
are holding these
will
properties
help the economy,
are banks,
and maybe the property go down. But
that's why we had the collapse in 2008 because banks was just
able to tweak
that
and
to
not
anybody.
get money off of property. Maybe we wouldn't be in this condition.
Those banks
we are
were subsidized,
now.
like Reggie here's talking.
Peace on earth, brother.
Amen. Peace on earth.
That's my story.
Well,
like
thank
that
you
guy.
very much for talking.
Thanks, brother.
He's a nice guy.
All right.
Hardworking. Y'all want to check out some more Invisible People on YouTube? As you see, they got a Patreon. You want to go check that out. But yeah, I think Invisible People, they share a lot of really cool stories of folks. This one was called "Homeless Man Has Job Yet Lives in a Tent in West Los Angeles." Crazy. All right, y'all. So next up, I got last but not least is a documentary from Java Discover. It's about an hour-long documentary. I suggest you all go and check it out. This video is before the pandemic. This is actually talking about the recovery from the last recession we had, and how people were still, working their butt off, and still finding out that they're in poverty. They're unable to afford the American dream. Let's check that out.
Right now we're on 192 West Arlo Drive. This road leads to Disneyland, SeaWorld, and stuff like that. It was really quick for me to find a job because I have so many different businesses here to apply to, and it's mostly they're always looking for employment everywhere.
Fate led her to this highway in Florida. This evening, along Route 192, we crossed paths with Germania and her all-too-normal life. A life which resembles those of millions of other Americans following the recession.
Okay, so I got a double quarter pounder, a cheeseburger plain. It's gonna be $27.86.
9 million jobs have been created since the recession, most of which, like Germania's, at this fast food giant, the second largest employer in the country.
The second largest, only, to Walmart, of course.
You have to go and get a second job.
Minimum wage jobs.
Good morning, thank you for choosing Dunkin' Donuts.
Which means that Americans are working even more than ever.
A medium hot coffee or ice, sweetie?
They pick up part-time jobs, working 70 hours a week, often 7 days a week.
Have a good day, hon.
2 jobs right now is nothing.
I could probably do 3 jobs if I wanted to, but then I would definitely get no sleep.
These hands, the hands which work to keep the American economy turning at full
Like,
steam.
does that compute with y'all? You know, work 2 jobs. I could probably work 3, but I wouldn't get any
The
sleep.
workers that helped bring the
Does
country
that make
out
sense?
of the economic downturn that had brought the economy to its knees are far from reaping the benefits today.
It is a struggle every day. How am I gonna make it today? Like, how am I gonna make money to buy food? How am I gonna make money to cook my kids dinner at night, you know? Thank you. Every day is a new chapter of my life, so.
It's a success story, the story of America's amazing economic recovery. 8 years after the crisis, their politicians and companies hammer home the message, and the statistics seem to confirm it. The leading global power has saved its economy.
Saved its economy. So obviously, you know, that was short-lived and whatnot. Yeah, just gonna stop it here. I just wanted to show everybody. This isn't a new thing. This is a kind of poverty, the working class poverty that's been around for quite some time, and I just wanted to bring a little bit more light to it. These guys recently re-uploaded their video at the beginning of the month, and brought my attention to it, and I watched the whole thing, and I couldn't believe it. A lot of people are going to argue that, you know, oh, these are just minimum wage workers, you know, blah blah blah. But I mean, is their life any worth less any is their life worth any less than yours? You know, these are the guys that are serving you. These guys are working much harder than you, you know, and you got a CEO making millions of dollars a year. You got these corporations that they're working for, you know, making a ridiculous amount more than what they are, and it's really pathetic. So that's all I got for y'all today. Thanks for checking it out, and I hope to see y'all in the comments with your opinions, your feedback, and your gripes, your complaints, whatever you got for me. Send it my way. Thanks.